Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Season 4, Episode 15. Today is June 12th, 2025. We are 78 days away from Elk Season. We are the Chambers Brothers. My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And today on the Elk Season Podcast.
Ooh, we've got some good stuff for you. Pro elk hunting books. We've got elk hunting changes for non-residents in Idaho. We have wolves, like an old wolf from Wyoming. We have wolf reintroduction updates from Colorado. We also have grizzly bears in the news. What are they really? Pythons make an appearance. Pythons in a particular place. And also some gear news from the archery world. All that and probably more on the Elk Season Podcast.
All right. Yeah, the Python thing. We'll get to it, but the Python thing is fun.
Yeah. I actually saw that and I didn't capture it because I was like, apparently you found a swing for the podcast, but I...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thought, easy to make a connection. Easy.
Yeah, I guess I should be more open-minded.
Anyway.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Mother flipping snakes on a podcast.
So sorry. I want to talk about these books.
Okay.
I am listening to one book and I am reading another book. The book I am listening to is called The Comfort Crisis.
Okay.
Right? And are you familiar with the genre of immersive journalism?
Like embedded journalism, like somebody...
It's like it's like embedded or immersive. They just throw themselves into this
a
world.
situation, and then they break. Yeah, I could tell you stories.
Yeah. It's a popular genre. It's fun. I like it. I like that immersive journalism. And this guy is going on some crazy adventures. They want to do something that you can't compare, right? Did we talk about that last week? I want to do a physical challenge that you can't compare to any other physical challenge. If I do a Spartan race, well, there's 500 other people that did the same race under the same conditions, right? And these guys move a 500-pound boulder underwater 5 kilometers.
Yeah, that's right.
That's something you can't compare that to anything. Anyway. No. So he goes on to talk about some of the science, some of the psychologists that have looked into the mental health of backpacking.
Yeah.
And there's lots of it.
Yeah.
And like 3 days is like the magic number.
Yeah.
Which is a perfect elk hunting weekend.
Yeah, it is.
If you get to leave early.
It's my reset.
Yeah. And they talk about, I have for years said that my year revolves around elk season. The amount of mental energy I gain from being in the woods is a difficult thing to describe.
Yeah.
Right? But it just clears my mind and helps me reset for real life back in the real world. It's just so fantastic. And those are just my anecdotal feelings. That's just how I feel about it.
Do you want the neuroscience behind it?
But this book talks about that.
Okay.
And if you know better than...
Well, no, I want to hear what the book has to say. Because it's a collaboration of data gathering. I'm curious to hear what their perspective is.
Their perspective is that he's glossing over it. He didn't go over the neurobiology of it, the neurology of it. They just said this is shown. This works. This works for veterans. This PTSD, and it's not effect. It's not like you go home and that effect is gone. No. You come back from elk season, that elk season is always there.
Yeah.
The pictures and the videos on your phone and all those memories that can never be taken from you. Mm-hmm. So you think.
So to speak. I mean, it's not a perfect capture, but it has to do with neuro development and
novelty,
neuro brain. So, or neuro brain. Duh. It has to do with brain growth, is what I'm trying to say, and neuroplasticity, right? Okay. So you go through your routine in life. And so when we start to feel stagnant, the world starts to speed up because things go to a routine.
Right.
And so Dr. Eagleman...
Exactly what this book covered.
Yeah.
Exactly what this book covered. Time moved slow when we were younger because everything was novel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to slow down the perception, so just in general, and I get this from Dr. Eagleman, he's a neuroscientist from Texas, to slow down the perception that time goes by faster as we age, we have to introduce novelty, something that really challenges us on new levels because it forces our brain to grow new neural connections.
Yeah.
And so that can happen on large or small scales. And when you go out into the woods for 3 days, even if it's to a place you've been, because it's always changing and it's not your norm, it's novel, and it forces your brain to make new growth, which is literally changing the way you're wired, and gives you new memories. And so it's healthy to do novel things. And it doesn't have to be in the woods, but the woods are an easy place to go because you can just take a left turn or a right turn and get completely new novelty.
Novelty is around every corner.
It's rooted in our experiences anecdotally, but in the neuroscience of it, it's a physical growth of your brain that is required for you to survive in those moments. But it's a safer world than it used to be. But it becomes in a weird, I don't know if it's coincidental or ironic. I think ironic is the word. It's more healing psychologically than you would think traditionally. So anyway, I love that. I love the science behind it.
Yeah, and it's really great to hear. Anecdotally, I can say, I can confirm. I feel so much better after elk season, whether I get anything or not, and I always have. Just spending that weekend up there. And it just stays with me all year long. I mean, almost every step.
I think it especially helps when you approach something like that with a challenge in mind. Because if you do something too routinely and go camping a lot and you don't really have anything to do, that's going to become mundane and non-restorative. Yeah. But if you have a challenge in mind, what that actually does is it forces your brain to start focusing. So we're always looking for elk. And that purpose of looking for elk forces us to always be watching this way, that way, this way, that way. We have a goal in mind. Without a goal in mind, it changes what we're actually gathering in terms of that data. And what makes it even more novel is the challenge of, well, elk were here last time, but they're not here this time. So where can we look now? And it forces us to push ourselves. And we know, because we are always like, I've gotten less hesitant about going to, like, say, the backyard, because I recognize that that's needed. It's necessary to have to get to where the elk are at. You got to go there. Right. So, but it's all rooted in that idea of challenge of the novelty.
Okay.
So have a plan, have a goal of, are you mushroom hunting? Are you looking for new species of trees? Right. Are you looking to experience, what are you doing? Have a goal in mind. And I feel like that will help you experience that novelty even more.
Yeah.
But be prepared. Don't go out in the woods nilly-willy. If you're hearing this and you live in New Jersey, sorry, you were in the news recently, Jersey. You can't come out west and just get out there if you don't have that experience. So get some experience, understand what you're doing. Don't just do it without knowing.
There's novelty around every corner. You don't have to go deep.
Right.
You just turn a corner.
I didn't need to go on that deep dive either, but just a little PSA anyway.
Yeah. So the book, The Comfort Crisis, is really great. And I have been thinking about my comfort level for many years and how my car is air conditioned. I don't have my body. Homeostasis doesn't take a whole lot of work for me. For most of us, it doesn't, which is a shame. And I think about how much work my environment does for me as a human. And that is a great transition to my next book.
Okay.
Which is called Second Sapiens.
Yes.
And I know I've talked to you about it before. I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast, but they talk about developmental stages of human existence, of the human experience.
Yes.
And
it's like an anthropological psychology take.
Yes,
almost.
Yes. As you look at any individual, or they go through certain stages, and you can apply that to civilizations, to communities, to religions, and you can apply it to the entire planet and see it in a flux of varying stages of development per country and per individual, all the way down to these levels. But one of the themes of this podcast has been where the human world comes into contact with nature. And way back we had Sapiens 1.2, Sapiens 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. Before you have to take this big leap and get to Sapiens 2.2 to get the real Second Sapiens. Because that's like puberty. This is like the developmental stage that's going to hurt, right? The Sapiens 1.3, 1.4, one of these stages, we decided as a species, we are separate from nature. And we are not.
Nature.
We are not separate from nature.
No, we are not.
But But this whole 4 years of this podcast, we've been saying we are separate from nature. Where do humans come into contact with nature? That's what we've been saying.
In a way, yeah.
Because we're part of that understanding, and it's just we're just a product of how we grew up.
But I also agree with where you're going with this, because I also view that we are nature.
Yes.
It's just that we feel like we have to distinguish ourselves from the rest of the animal kingdom, but we are all part of this world. There's really no separation.
Right. And that's what the author's argument is.
Yeah.
Is that if we really absorb all this consumerism back into nature, this is not sustainable. this level of living is not
you can
sustainable.
watch this unfold in its own way in different animal populations, like an ant
Right.
colony or a beehive, all these different places. You're going to see the economics of those things. And I'm not a biologist by any means, but I know enough. I've seen enough, what would you call it? David Attenborough documentaries where he's covered these kinds of things.
Systems.
Like if
systems
this
collapse.
happens, this responds,
Yes.
right? And we're not invulnerable to that.
It's so great that you use the term anthill.
Yeah,
Because
I said ant colony.
the final chapter of this book is called "The View from Jupiter."
Okay, that's funny.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no borders.
Yeah.
Right? Look at this. When in 1968, December 1968, we saw the Earth from the moon for the first time. We saw the Earth set behind the moon, and that little blue dot started the revolution, this environmental revolution, and trying to understand the Earth as this sensitive blue marble floating through the sky, rather than something we have dominion over.
Yeah,
here on Earth,
we're
that we
so
think we have
insignificant.
dominion over.
We're so insignificant.
It's so.
What's my
silly.
favorite line from Will Ferrell in Saturday Night Live? When that thing burns out, we're all gonna die. Okay,
Hey, we will. We certainly will.
About the sun, by the way, that was a reference to him being Harry Carey with Jeff Goldblum.
Anyways, I know that's swinging pretty far on the ecological line. I do love it. I do love those kind of books, and I like the idea. And I feel ashamed that I have so openly separated myself from nature. Like, I'm not nature. And when I tell my kid, "Hey, we're animals. We are animals," he goes, "No, we're not. Look at us." I mean, he sees the difference. He's 8. He goes, "No, we're not. Look at those trees can't move." Anyway,
according to some scientists, some plants scream when you cut them. So,
not the ones I have. They just cry a little bit. Anyway, it's an interesting look, and it will forever change the way I understand where the human nature interactions that we're going to talk about later today.
Yeah.
There's lots of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because the gap in understanding of am I nature is so distant. And the people camping in Yellowstone or wherever those bison were.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They're humans. They're not nature. They're separate from nature, and you can see it in the way just them.
It's probably a combination of ignorance and entitlement. Some people are just ignorant to the idea that wilderness can hurt them, and some people might come across as like, I'm entitled for wilderness not to hurt me. Like, how dare you buffalo my tent?
I was ignorant to the idea that I am nature. I was willfully separated. That's nature. I'm human. That's the line I have always been drawing.
Oh. I guess I don't feel like I've ever really felt that same way.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a slight.
Okay.
But it's not the big deal. It's just because I've always felt incredibly connected to the part of being that part of nature.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is, but I've always felt like there's a humility in allowing myself to be part of this world and of this world because I'm part of nature, and so that's how I've always approached it.
Right. And I guess I've never really thought deeply enough about the subject to say
it's different for everybody.
To draw that delineation line to say, well, this is where humans begin, and that's where nature starts. Right?
Yeah, we're just the luckiest animal on this planet.
And that's one of the arguments the book makes, is that we're the humans beings just meant to live out some sort of live fast, die young, and leave a good-looking corpse? Because that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Anyway.
My corpse is going to be good looking. Right? Look at me. Anyway. All right. So it's pro elk hunting books, though.
Those are so So yeah, the first one was pro elk hunting because hey, that's your mental health.
Yes. So, okay.
And
sorry.
the second one is that's pro understand you're part of nature again.
Yeah.
When you get out there and elk hunt, it's easier to see those connections. It's
Yes.
easier to feel like you're part of nature.
So I appreciate you making
Yeah.
those tie-ins. I just want to make for some reason my brain suddenly goes, but did we talk about those? But we did, and that's why it's important to bring that tie-in, because that is an important point. Your mental health is incredibly important.
Yeah.
And really, the mountains are my happy place.
Yeah.
And this summer, I'm going to get to experience them more than I have in a long time.
Yeah.
Because I bought a camper, and now I feel inclined to use that camper. So
You feel inclined or committed.
at least
Now I have to go.
at least this summer.
And the family has to come with me.
Yes.
Ha-ha. This weekend's Father's Day weekend.
Yes.
So you can do whatever you want.
That's exactly
That's
right.
right.
Bad back and all. I've got a bad back this week.
Kids, you got to carry dad.
Yeah, up to the mountain lake.
You're big enough.
Yeah, right. I've been taking him to the weight room, get him ready for this.
Yeah.
So, all right. We talk a lot about bears. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here with bears.
Yeah.
Because this one, it came up last time. A fed bear is a
Dead bear.
and a bear is relocated again.
Yeah.
The again is the heartbreaking part of that headline.
Yeah,
because we
because-
know where that's going.
Because next time it's going to be dead bear.
Yeah.
You just can't have bears habituated to humans. They'll just go back and when they go back one day and don't find the calories they want, they can get a little, what's the word? Hangry?
Yeah.
As much as grumpy as I can be behind the wheel,
Yeah.
doesn't get any worse than right at the drive-through.
Right.
Oh my gosh, the anxiety. And
They shorted me a
anticipation.
chicken nugget. Oh wait, I already ate that. Okay.
Now do that to a bear who doesn't know where his next meal is coming from. And I
Yeah.
thought this garbage was full. That's an angry bear. Anyway,
Yeah. Fed bear, unfortunately, is
yeah.
a dead bear. So, was it a black bear, grizzly bear, or a brown bear? You can
what's
see where
the difference? There's brown black bears and there's grizzly brown bears.
Right.
And there's black grizzly bears
and there's
and there's grizzly brown bears.
right. So it's really about body shape, right? So you have to look at the ears, and then
Yeah.
a grizzly bear has a hump.
Yeah.
Of course, paw size is definitely going to be different, and it's different based on what region they live in, because coastal bears are going to be heavier than interior
Right.
bears. But black
And we
bears,
talked about this before, and
Yeah.
I where did I learn this lesson? It's nice that the lesson's reinforced. I was reading some book, and they talked about the difference between black or brown bear and grizzly bear, and those that just being on the interior is different than being on the coast, and all the dead things that wash up. I think that was my comment was, dude, I've seen the guys in Alaska hunt brown bears, and they are following the coastline looking for dead whales.
Yep.
Because there'll be 5,
Yep.
6 grizzlies on that whale carcass. So.
Yep.
Huge resource. I mean, the amount of energy in a dead whale.
Oh my gosh! Right?
Wow.
Well, and you showed me a video of bears when the guy was talking about how bears will go after the salmon, but they're eating the roe and then
Yes.
the skin or something. That's it, because that's the highest fat
the
content.
brains and the eggs, the head,
Yeah.
and they're high grading. They're not even eating the meat.
The meat, yeah.
The eggs, all the fat, all the energy.
I guess that's an ecosystem help though, because other animals come in and
Oh yeah.
benefit from that. Grizzly bears. We recently talked about a study that said, hey, maybe they'll come back to California. And I keep seeing rhetoric about that, but nothing substantial yet.
And we have advocated for it for years.
Yes.
And we do believe someday the studies have been done, the organization exists, and they are pushing for the return of grizzly bears to California. And I hope to see it.
But the
one
grizzly
day.
bear populations in Montana and Wyoming,
Yeah.
Glacier and Wyoming,
are expanding nonetheless.
They expanded, and we've talked at length of different grizzly bears meandering. The one grizzly bear, I can't remember the name of it, but
like Sioux or something, like
it
1,200 miles in a Coeur
was
d'Alene.
going to all those apple orchards and whatever.
Downtown Kellogg,
Yeah.
Idaho. Yeah. Never
So-
being seen.
But wandered all that way.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the plausibility of one of those bears meandering down here
Yes.
or into Utah. So there's been some sightings
Right.
of grizzly bears near or in the northern Utah area. So according to the article, it didn't say that it's a habitable place for them, but interesting to note that what we've been harping for 4 years
Yep.
is showing up.
Yeah. And There has not been a grizzly bear in the state of Utah for more than 100 years.
1923.
And they are on the border. Now, we are seeing something where the wolves were reintroduced to Idaho. The Idaho wolves bleed over into Oregon and California.
Yeah.
California and Oregon can't do anything about the wolves. What do you think Utah is going to do about grizzly bears? Nothing.
Yeah.
They can't do anything.
Yeah.
They can't do anything.
Yeah.
And grizzly bears, there were so many grizzlies in Utah. Utah is such good grizzly country.
Yeah. Old Ephraim was his name in 23 was the last one that they had that they
moths,
knew of. So.
The high country moths. They'll eat 10,000, 20,000 moths a day up in the high country, up in those big Rocky Mountains in the Wasatch and man.
Speaking of having animals introduced, though, to segue a little bit out of the grizzly bears, since we're right next door in Utah, why don't we go over to Colorado and talk a little bit about how the reintroduction program is going for wolves there?
Okay, this is a pretty cut and dry story.
Okay,
a wolf got into too many farm animals.
Yeah,
and they killed it. They euthanized it. No, they killed it. Right, and that's what they should do.
Yeah,
right. You try to haze it. You try to teach them to stay away. Hey, hunt something else.
The growing pains of reintroduction are at hand, and this is what we also talked about for years.
And it's not like the ranchers they won't do anything about it. They did.
They got rid of
reimbursements happen. It takes time.
Yeah.
But the ranchers are reimbursed, and the biologists say this is the right decision. We can't habituate wolves to human livestock.
Now, I don't have an image for this, but we talked about it last week anyway, but the wolves in Northern California are creating more and more havoc. So there's more wolves than they thought because they weren't tracking them or something.
Right.
Or they just were that reproductive.
Because there's more elk in Oregon than Idaho or Montana.
Yeah.
And when the wolves got into Oregon,
there you go.
They did good. Oregon, some
sense.
people from California don't like to say they're from California. Northern California, even they'll go on from Southern Oregon, Stockton, because they don't like to say that that's where they're from. But California, it's not like California has border patrol for wolves, right? I'm sure there's elk and wolves.
Maybe that's coming. Sorry.
Yeah. So we'll see, and they need to learn all the lessons that we learned in Montana and Idaho and Wyoming the past 30 years. How to haze them, how to keep them away from livestock, and what to do about them.
And certainly there are some good wolves out there. In fact, that's what I consider this next one. If it lives to the ripe old age, the old wolf of Wyoming, man, she was a legend apparently.
He was.
Oh, it was a he.
I believe so.
It is a he.
Yeah. I believe so. A 13-year-old wolf, I think wolf number 280. Wyophiles. I follow this guy on TikTok from Wyophiles, and he lives in Wyoming, like 3 doors down from the guy who is the wolf biologist for Wyoming. And so I love the story of wolves. They have such incredible, complex, dynamic lives and social structures, and I just find it absolutely fascinating and beautiful that a wolf made it to 13.
Yeah.
I think they showed him babysitting, like they show him walking and there's cubs following him.
You can just tell that it's an old animal.
But they can still talk and they can still teach things. In one of the books I read, there are some cultures that said a house without an old person must rent one. You have to get an old person. There's such great resources of knowledge. And to have an old wolf like that teaching the young pups things, only beneficial.
Yes.
Only beneficial. Before you move on, can we transition to the pythons?
Yeah.
Okay. The python story
is eating away at you.
No, it ties into wolves.
Well, we'll slither it in there then.
Very good.
You're welcome.
So what Florida did, Florida has a python problem.
What now, you say?
I understand that there's a difference between an invasive species like a python and the wolf, which is, what's the word? Indigenous. Which indigenous,
according
right?
to some others, I've been in arguments, unfortunately, where people are like, they're not indigenous. Those are wolves from other places, and they're not the same species. But that's
but they are, and And the best answer I've seen to that, oh, wow, you should really do some research. That's the best comeback I've seen for that argument. Oh, really? Wow, you should really do some research. But in order to really make a dent in this python population in Florida, they had what The Simpsons
snake bashing day.
Whacking Day.
Whacking Day, yeah.
Right? Or was that Weird Al's Whacking Day, but it was on The Simpsons, it was Smashing Day or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But they had one day where they all go out to do this. Now, I know in previous years, there have been wolf hunting parties, right? That they want to go and they start these. It's called a wolf hunting derby, actually, and they start it. I think a lot of the mindset is eradicate the wolves, and I don't advocate eradicating wolves, but to introduce people to wolf hunting and to add pressure. If you know that there's wolves in an area, you can have a derby. It's so hard to hunt wolves. It's so hard. Their area is so huge. But if you have 7 or 8 different parties, you can be one of the parties that helps make a difference by either putting pressure on those wolves to go to another hunting party or to be the hunting party that harvests a wolf. So I just wanted to advocate again for not the eradication of wolves, but for derbies to bring people into the wolf hunting fold, because we do need more regulation. There's going to be more help needed in Colorado in coming years, and Oregon and California, and we're on the leading edge of that. And so, anyways, that's what the python thing was about, is getting together to hunt in groups, because last week we talked about how difficult it was for hunters even to kill wolves when we first started.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We need to get together and share some of that knowledge and share some of the experience.
They're starting to figure some things out with these pythons, because 20 tons of pythons is no joke.
That's a heck of a whacking day.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good whacking day. Yeah.
It's yeah.
So they were able to bring in 20,000 pounds of pythons.
Tons. It said tons.
20,000 tons of pythons?
No, 20 tons.
Oh, 20 tons of pythons. So 40,000 pounds.
Yes.
Anyway, it's a lot of meat. And to use sort of the same tactic in helping the elk population rebound would be a wolf derby. And I unfortunately, they've had this negative appeal, or this negative. It seemed like a negative attitude towards wolves.
Yeah.
And I don't have that. I have a very positive. To me, I do. I have a very positive attitude about wolves. I just talked about how cool it was that they're 13 and they're old and they're dynamic. But we do need to rein them in, and we do need
active management.
Active management. I watched a YouTube of a guy who killed a wolf, and he told his hunting buddy that it was a black wolf, and he goes, "This big black alpha wolf comes in." I just have to tell you, you don't know you're killing an alpha. There's no way for you to know that. There is no way. You don't understand the social dynamics of a pack well enough to know the wolf you're looking at is an alpha. It's one of the most ridiculous things to say.
Unless he omitted more information that he had evidence that it was, but I doubt that. So yeah.
I really doubt it. Of course, everybody thinks that they're killing the alpha.
Well, of course.
And there's no way for anybody
I missed the herd bowl last year. You know how it is.
Oh, it was the herd bull, guaranteed. A nice 5x5 herd bull like that. Anyway, I think that's that's a misspoken line. You don't know that's an alpha.
But it's gold fever, it's buck fever, it's all that stuff, right?
You're right. You're right.
You get
total forgiveness, 100% forgiveness. Yeah, you know what I meant. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
I 100% know what you meant. If it's a wolf and it's close to you, it might as well be alpha.
Yeah. So
yeah, total forgiveness.
As much as I disagree with the statement, I also don't disagree with the excitement and the what that experience was for that person.
100%.
So, yeah. I once the first buck I ever shot at, I remember telling somebody that he must have had like 25 points or something like that. I was really excited. I was also like 14, but
yeah.
You know,
and it was big. It was probably closer to 20.
And it was a whitetail, and so it was small. Yeah. In size anyway, but it was huge to me. I was 12 when I shot at it. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's see. Let's talk about Yellowstone tourism real quick, since we're been in that general area.
Yeah,
all
we talked a little bit about this under the general idea of where humans end and nature begins.
I'm not sure how I'm going to feel with our we're going there in a few weeks. So a full report on the podcast about our experiences there.
Yeah.
But
outside Yellowstone.
We're staying outside Yellowstone, but then traveling in and around the park, But I just with the numbers that pull into that park during the busy season, that's it's that grizzly in the driveway idea.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to reflect on what that means and how I'll feel, and maybe it won't be as busy. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, we will see.
Your penny machines better be working because we're about to lose the penny, and I need to do some more of those.
Oh, those are fun.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But Yellowstone tourism,
so there's a person setting up a tent. There's a buffalo wandering through, and I mean,
and he's clearly watching the buffalo. Like, I don't know, I got to be careful.
Right.
But it's like maybe stop with your tent and move away until the buffalo passes.
Right.
Your tent doesn't need to put up that back.
Right. And then there's
a Jersey guy who got gored recently.
Such a disconnect. Yeah. Yeah, and I saw another one online, a close call today, someone dragging their toddler past a bison.
Come see the buffalo.
Oy vey. Well, I had to go to the bathrooms, and then I had to go back, and then there's a buffalo there, and the whole car's waiting for me. I know. I get it. There's a thousand reasons why. There's 1,000 reasons why a parent would do that. Don't take your kids to Yellowstone. I'm just kidding. They won't appreciate it, and they smell up the car.
5 or younger really isn't an advantageous time to take them. We had our kids at various ages, but our first time going to Yellowstone with our children was when our oldest was 3. We just had him, but he watched Nemo in the back seat. So any videos we have, you hear Finding Nemo more than you hear the buffalo snorts were passing.
Yeah.
So it was one of those interesting things. And we went in 2017. Or 2018, and we had another 3-year-old, and he watched Dora the whole time.
Wow.
The closest, he almost sounded like he was there for the mountains, because every now and then we're going to the muddy mountains, but he's responding to Dora.
Yeah.
So it was, it's not that it's bad to take them, but the memory is just not going to be there for them.
Yeah.
They're not going to have that.
Right.
So
because when they're that age, everything is novel.
Yeah.
So Yellowstone's the same as everything else to them.
When we went to Disneyland, we waited till they were good and old enough to really
remember and
compartmentalize. Our youngest was, I think, 7. It was just last year, so he would have been 8.
Okay.
Anyway, but making sure everybody had an opportunity to get a full experience. So it would just suck. I grew up with the memory of, well, you've been on an Amtrak train and you went from Montana all the way to the Seattle coast. And then all the way back, you got off the train in Shoshone, Idaho, and went to Grandpa and Grandma's.
Yeah.
That's the story I have to hear from you, brother.
Right.
I was too young.
Right, because I remember a lot of it, but not all of it.
I was a baby.
Yeah.
You were 9.
Yeah.
So
I remember cruising down the coast and glowing through Glacier, and very few things.
So I've been in Glacier?
Yeah.
I've been through Glacier.
We went through Glacier on the Amtrak. Yeah.
All this time I've been saying I've never been to Glacier.
Yeah.
I am such a hypocrite or a liar.
Yeah, you rode a train through Glacier like a snob.
More milk, please. Anyway. Where was I going with this? Anyway, let's go to Idaho real quick. They changed the way that they do non-resident elk tags. Now, that's just I'm going to go back a couple years ago, not the current thing, but a couple years ago, they're like, hey, you got to be here on December 1st at midnight or whatever it is. It was kind of like everybody's in line. We know people who've been in that line.
Jared, yeah.
And even John, right, talked about that. So it's like, it's kind of a pain.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, but they're apparently moving for next year here in Idaho to move to a draw system. So I'm not sure what the details are of the draw system, but the line you're waiting in is more of a random draw, which gives you an equal opportunity, which I think is much better for that. So
I agree. That is good news. Good news.
We'll
get a chance to see Jared once in a while.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see John again soon.
Yeah.
I like seeing him. So
he is I would say he's a top shelf hunter. He gets it done.
No doubt.
He gets it done.
We found his camera, and he had on the camera the footage of him harvesting a black bear with a traditional bow.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and doesn't wear camo.
He gets it done. Yeah.
doesn't wear camo.
I know you watch all those Sasquatch videos and they're running from the green pants.
Yeah.
Watch out, the green pants are coming. Anyway.
Condolences to the family. I don't know the name of the family here in Idaho, but an 18-year-old passed away while recreating in our national forest. A boulder fell
really?
on him. He was fishing with his friend. I don't know if they were sleeping or if something was happening. Anyway, the friend didn't get injured, but it crushed the other guy.
Wow.
And so it was, we talk about the dangers of being out in nature all the time.
Yep.
Could it be a deadfall tree? Could be any number of things. But I think it sounds like this young man was highly skilled with the outdoors and was a great friend to everybody. So condolences to them.
Just a fluke. Yeah, just a fluke accident.
So just be safe. Do what you can. And just wanted to throw that in there.
The greatest dangers are dehydration and hypothermia. Both of them are very real dangers this time of year, all year long. Dehydration and hypothermia.
I kind of experienced that not last weekend, but the weekend before I went camping. And even though I have water all around me, somewhere I was just heat exhaustion and a little dehydrated. It was weird.
Yeah.
I thought I was drinking enough water and doing everything right. So you can never be too careful, it seems like, when you're recreating, even with a camper. I'm glamping now. It's like ultimate glamping.
Whoa. You have a washer and dryer on that thing? When you do, that's glamping. Would you have a shower?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's kind of glamping.
I don't have a washer and dryer, but I have a shower.
I know. Washer and dryer sound pretty good.
But there are campers we looked at that have washer dryer hookups.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know they do.
So last couple of stories actually deal with a couple of gear things.
Okay.
So a while ago, I came back from Boise and I talked to you about how I ran into, I forget his name, from Cabela's.
Yeah.
And he was really selling me hard on the weight of arrows, right? And we talked about arrows need to be heavier so they can penetrate better and all this stuff. And it's not about speed, it's about weight. And we continued that conversation. We walked away from that going, well, but the arrows we use that I've been setting up for us for years kill pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Weight, speed, everything seems to be tuned in. And it was like, well, we don't need to fix what isn't broken.
Yeah.
And so I stumbled across a headline, if I can find it. It says the heavy, and so this guy was speaking to a trend that he obviously was really big into, and it's not to take anything away from him.
Okay.
And if you like heavy arrows, great. But apparently this trend has come and gone. The heavy arrow trend is dead.
Okay.
Saying speed is back.
Can you explain to me the difference between a regular arrow and a heavy arrow?
So
in grams?
So I don't know the differences in grams because he gave me all that information, but I could not compartmentalize all of it.
Okay.
But basically, and I see stuff at the shops. I was actually recently at D&B, and they have these weights that you put in next to the knock and next to the broadhead.
Yeah.
And so it adds weight on each end, and so that it balances it out. And so you're just adding these grams.
Yeah, velocity.
To just,
right? Velocity is mass times speed.
Yeah.
Right? So you just have more velocity, more impact strength.
Yeah. But it's not necessarily needed. And that's what we ultimately decided. So anyway, for anybody who was following that thread, I'm sure some of you, many of you, were following that at home. You can mark that off on your bingo card.
John killed a black bear with a traditional bow. You don't need a fancy compound and a rangefinder and a release and right? So much. There's so much. There's so much that goes into that. So much science. It's a technological marvel. As we go hunting, we are just draped and dripping with technology.
Yeah, and that technology
to combat elk.
And this ties into the last story.
Okay,
this technology isn't necessarily inexpensive either. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not super. I mean, you can get super expensive, but it's not cheap either, right? But there's a class action lawsuit against retailers like Bass Pro and Hoyt that says they conspired to artificially inflate the prices of archery equipment.
Oh, yeah.
And industry insiders, according to this article from Bow Hunting Magazine, they were simply enforcing minimum advertised prices to help local bow shops and protect consumers. So they're already saying, well, we were protecting you with this price gouge.
No, they weren't. Only money matters. Only the stock price matters.
So
anyway, that's a bummer.
I have what I consider to be a bottom shelf bow.
Yeah. What do you know the brand?
My bow
Yeah.
is a Diamond by Bowtech.
Okay, Bowtech's a good
an
brand.
entry-level bow.
Yeah, but Bowtech's a good brand. I have a Martin.
Yeah.
Nobody has a Martin. Everybody's got Hoyt or Bowtech.
Well, it's either
Or
Hoyt,
what's the other one? Hoyt and
Bear, Hoyt. Oh crap! There's another one.
Bowtech and
It's Hoyt. It's Hoyt and another one that really are the top tier, and I can't remember what the other one is. Matthews.
Matthews. Yeah.
So, so any of you gear snobs out there, you're laughing at me and Harold because like, what's that other top name, Brad? Because like that's all you'll hunt with, and I get it. With all due respect,
some guys get new bows every year.
Yeah.
Hey, good for them. Okay.
But you've been paying too much for it, apparently. And that brings us to the close.
All right. Don't skip leg day. You have any comments about leg day?
Oh, my gosh. Apparently, leg day turned into a week of back day for me. So, yeah. So, look, I'm not a huge fan of going to gyms.
Right.
I just, like memberships and all this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, but I have free access to the gym at my place of employment.
Yeah.
And so my up-and-coming 14-year-old, very physically active child says, Dad, I need to go to the gym. I'm like, well, I'm not getting a gym membership. He's like going here, there, there. I'm like, we can just go to the gym at my job. We can? I go, yeah, it's probably a discount. I find out it's actually part of my employee benefits package.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
So I finally got over myself this week.
I found out I got a free gym membership. Giant sigh. Now I have to work out. Anyway, you were saying?
I totally get how dumb it is. Okay, because I'm going to take it. I'll be transparent with this.
Oh God, it's like dinner's burnt. Oh, I have a gym membership.
He wants to go to the gym so bad, and I'm like, there's something about the core of my being that doesn't want to do this.
Yeah,
but I have to recognize that it's not for me, it's for him.
Yeah.
It's an experience that he'll appreciate that I'm doing for him. And so we actually rode our bikes to this place on Monday.
Yeah.
And that whole time I'm riding the bike, I'm just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm like arguing with myself. And then there's a whole bunch of people there. And then I'm like, I got to do things and look awkward and wonky. But I'm like, it's the learning curve. Get over yourself. Yeah. The kid is loving it. He's trying all these things. And I realized it's really dumb of me to have that attitude. By the time I left there, we did upper arm focus, and I don't ask me what I lift or bench because it's not a competition to me.
No,
it's the only person I'm in competition with myself. And I have to figure out where to start. After 25 years of not going to a gym, I kind of had to find that starting point again.
Yeah.
And so Tuesday, I felt pretty sore up top. And then we did leg day yesterday. Yeah. And so I do leg day. We do all these different things. We started off with squats.
Yeah.
And then we did there's other machines that do squats
leg
too. So did all these different
leg curls.
Yeah. I probably did more than I should have done.
Yeah, probably. That's how you do when you first go back to the gym.
Yeah.
You overdo it.
You're just kind of pushing yourself. And so I get home, and what do I have to do? I have to do some things for the trailer that I'm taking camping this weekend, which means I have to get up and down off the floor a lot. And I learned yesterday how incredibly painful it is to do leg day and then have to do a bunch of up-down stuff in your garage and oh my gosh, I thought I was going to fall over dead. And then today it's turned into a horrible back spasm. But the point is, I'm not opposed to this current setup, and we're going to try to go all through. I feel better.
How many times have you said don't miss leg day?
I've said it a lot. But
how many times have you missed leg day?
Well, hold on.
All of them until yesterday, right?
You have to understand my definition of leg day. Riding my bike, going for walks, right?
Okay.
That's a version of leg day for me.
Okay.
But now leg day has taken an upgrade.
Oh yeah, it has.
And I'm okay with it because I want, we have a routine to hit 4 times a week.
Good.
And we'll go in.
Perfect.
I think it'll be better for me. I think after 25 years, my body's telling me you've needed to do this for a while, but you're there now. Yeah. So let's get back on track with it. And ultimately I feel better.
Good. Oh yeah, you will. You will.
And my body's actually already shaping. It's weird.
Responding to it. You bet it will. You bet it will.
So
yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Anyways, I had to throw leg
Don't
day
skip
in there.
leg day.
I knew you had something to say.
Not skipping leg day. Cheers.
Goodbye.
In the morning light, before dawn, bow grip tight, heart beating strong. Through the forest, ancient giants roam. In the land where the wild calls me home. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. The mountains rise, kissed by the sun. In September, where I belong. Bugles echo loudly through the veil. A symphony of an ancient tale. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze. Driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. Silent as the morning mist, I travel on with careful grace. Every shadow, every sound surrounds me in this wild embrace. The challenge and the thrill, the patience and the skill. In the dance of life and nature, my heart's forever filled. As the sun sets, shadows long and deep, I find my place with the memories I keep. The chase and the beauty of a day gone by. Deep in the mountains, my spirit cries. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze. Driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty, out where the hunter and elk meet. Here's to the wild places where the elk and I both roam. The chase that brings us closer to the place that I call home. In the stillness of the forest, in the grandeur of the land, I am one with nature's wonder, with my bow here in my hand.